Joseph Kipchirchir Boinett has officially taken office as the new Inspector General of Police. Boinett replaces David Kimayo, who resigned in December last year following pressure over perceived failure to address runaway insecurity. Boinett will be welcomed with a full in-tray, with corruption, terrorism and banditry topping his priority list. Here's Patrick Amimo with the details.
Joseph Kipchirchir Boinett, having been appointed as the Inspector General of the National Police Service.
52-year-old Joseph Kipchirchir Boinett was sworn in at the Supreme Court in a ceremony witnessed by Chief Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga, Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Nkaiseri, and a team from the National Police Service Commission. Boinett immediately accompanied President Uhuru Kenyatta for the launch of Integrated Population Registration System, IPRS. The system is meant to improve security through establishing a secure central database for all Kenyans and foreigners. It will contain individual information and biometric details that is anticipated to improve national security and curb international crimes such as terrorism, drug trafficking and money laundering.
This new strategy is long overdue because basically we need to know who is in the country and who is getting into the country and out of the country. The challenge here is the human element. How are we going to deal with this? And the human element has to be dealt with in such a way that we are having people of high integrity in charge of all these projects. But if you're going to have this old rotten egg still managing the systems, then I'm not seeing much coming out of this.
Boinett's appointment comes just as the state has kicked off fresh prosecution of suspects linked to Anglo-leasing security projects. The scandal began when the government, in 1997, sought to replace its passport printing system with sophisticated security equipment. The other project was to construct forensic science laboratories to check crime. The Kenya Police Service has always topped corruption surveys in Kenya. Indeed, the High Court last year cancelled recruitment of 10,000 new police officers following allegations of massive corruption. Last month, during his vetting process, Boinett assured a joint parliamentary committee on national security that police reforms, stemming corruption and human rights abuses in service will be his priority areas if confirmed for the top cop position.
I intend to confront those entrenched cultures of impunity, of abuse of human rights, of corruption, head on. And I'm ready for whatever consequences.
Basically, he is an outsider and is coming to meet people that have entrenched corruption in the service, and they are still heading different units of the police. So I think he's going to fight hard, and as Ringera once said, corruption always fights back.
Terrorism remains a real threat to Kenya's national security. Between 2013 and 2014, Kenya suffered major attacks from the Al-Shabaab terror group, which is suspected to have activated its local cells after the militia was rooted out of its strongholds by the Kenya Defense Forces operating under AMISOM in Somalia. During the period, there was a blame game between the police and intelligence community over sharing of crucial information. Boinett has expressed hope that his appointment could heal the rifts.
It will be very difficult to have a situation, if confirmed as IG, for the police to say, hiyo maneno tutaki kutoka kwenu, because hiyo kwenu is where I came from.
That Boinett has is that he comes from the intelligence community. And basically what Kenyans have been complaining, and some of us have talked about it, is that there was a gray area, there was a gap in the collection and dissemination of intelligence. And probably the police were only being given what some people at NIS wanted them to hear. So coming from that background, I think this new IG will be able to bridge that gap so that police will be getting actionable intelligence.
Boinett has skipped several ranks in the National Police Service, and there is fear of sabotage by senior officers who are sidestepped in the service. But Boinett has dismissed such fears.
I am known in the village, although they will not say my presence, as Kaburu. It is because I do not tolerate nonsense from anybody. In the sense that I do not accept mediocrity.
Corruption is one area that Kenyans will be watching keenly to see whether Boinett fulfills his pledge to ensure that the Kenya Police Service is free of corruption. Of course, insecurity is another area where Kenyans expect that the police will be out on duty to ensure that there is peace and tranquility across the country. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Nairobi.
So there you have it. Joseph Boinett sworn in today as the Inspector General of Police. And you could say he did receive a social media inauguration as well. He opened an official Twitter handle today, and as at last count, he had already over 7,000 followers, and he was trending under the hashtag Things Boinett Should Do. Kenyans have clearly taken a huge interest in him taking up this office, and here's a suggestion from a Kenyan on Twitter. This is Kosgei S, who says that he should elevate discipline and competency of police to ensure they're precise in nabbing criminals and stop maiming innocent people. And this was the response that he gave to Kenyans on Twitter. He said, "Thank you for the warm welcome. Following closely the conversation on things Boinett should do, be rest assured I will act." Well, just what exactly does he need to act on? Let's take a look at Boinett's in tray. What are the issues he's going to have to deal with? Well, one of the very first ones, and this is a pending issue, of course, is the issue of stalled police recruitment. In July of 2014, the police carried out a recruitment exercise that was then annulled by the High Court over allegations of corruption. Now, this is an exercise that cost over 80 million shillings, and it was very important because we needed 10,000 more boots on the ground to tackle things like insecurity. So this is something that really needs to get off the ground, and that's going to be a very big priority for him. Now, of course, this recruitment was stalled because of corruption, and as we can see, that is our next issue that he's going to have to deal with very, very heavily. Now, Transparency International actually ranks the Kenya police force as having a corruption rate of 81%. Now, 100% is the worst you can get, so that's pretty bad. Also, Kenya is ranked as having the police force that is the third most corrupt in the entire world. It is second only to Haiti and Mexico. And it seems that Kenyans do agree with some of those sentiments. If you look at this chart behind me, this is taken off a local website called ipaedabribe.or.ke. And essentially what it does is it allows people to report any time that they've taken a bribe, who they gave it to, and how much. And these are statistics for Nairobi. And you can see out of 724 bribes, 349 were given to police. That's over half of those bribes. Municipal Council came in second, and then passports and IDs and other officers. But clearly the police has a very, very big corruption problem, and that's something that the new Inspector General is definitely going to have to deal with. Well, the other thing that he's going to have to deal with, and this is also a spin-off of the corruption problem, because it has been cited as one of the reasons for the rampant insecurity issues that we continue to see. Last year, in 2014, 174 people lost their lives to extremist attacks in this country. Now, that is more people than all the people that have lost their lives in the 3 years since Kenya went into Somalia. So this is an escalating crisis. Very many people lost their lives. Actually, more people last year than even 2013 when we had the Westgate attack. Add to that the issues of cattle rustling in many parts of the country, and insecurity is definitely a huge problem. Well, other than that, there are some other issues that he's going to have to iron out. And a big one is he's going to have to win people over. Public confidence has taken a very big beating when it comes to the police force. I'm sure you remember this incident, Occupy Playground. I mean, the police force made international headlines after spraying tear gas, after spraying school children who were taking part in a protest with tear gas. So there is that issue. There's also the issue of Kenyans wondering whether the police can actually protect them. When you have an MP gunned down in the streets, that question is definitely going to come up. There have also been allegations of mishandling of suspects by the police. And also, on top of that, we've had situations where the police have been accused of having some misunderstandings with the National Intelligence Service. Well, the hope is that with his intelligence background, Boinett will be able to iron out a few of these things. So you can see he's got a very, very full plate.